Hello, I'm Wayne Blackwell, President of the Washington County Historical Society. And today we're going to be meeting with people at the 4 Points Baptist Church that will include the community around 4 Points, the Epsworth area, Deer Park, and Vinegar Bend. Mr. W.C. Moss will be our host today. Thank you.
Question.
I'd like to say that I'm W.C. Moss, that's William Clifford Moss, Jr. I was the son of Sarah Isabel Dees, who was the daughter of Tom Dees, who came from the Chatham Springbank area, and William Clifford Moss, who was the son of, his daddy was, he was one of them up there at Springbank. Everybody in Moss is all the way from the original Moss to Springbank. Well, William Clifford and Sarah Isabel couldn't have any children. So at a late age, and mother was 56 and dad was 55, they adopted a baby. And the baby was me. They had reared 2 or 3 young men, boys up to young men. They reared, Mr. Tom Davidson was with them for a number of years, and Willis Milner, who Daddy later went into boat business with, was with them when he was a kid. My start, personally, my people were not familiar with as I am. After the death of my 2 people, and I didn't particularly want to ask about it until after their death, I dug into what I could find. Well, I go to the welfare people and they tell me that I was found in the Old Baptist Hospital at Birmingham by a night watchman, and it was me wrapped up in a bedspread, and that was my start. Well, then after that, I was a ward of the Children's Aid Society of Alabama, and Mother and Dad were looking for an adoptive child, and they found me. The story went that Mother, she told me that she found a little girl she wanted, and she kind of wanted a girl. But the girl had living parents, and Mother asked the nurse, said, could this woman give us any trouble with our child? And the nurse said, sure, they could try to get their child, but said, certainly I don't think they could. Said, you never really know. Said, it's a pity she's not like this little fella. He doesn't have any folks. So Mother said, I'll take it. So this was on September the 23rd in 1922. And this was my birthday for up until, say, some 3 or 4 years ago. And I became 65, and I thought I might better get a legitimate birth date rather than just having an adoption date. So I went back and asked the welfare people, and they said, well, the only thing we could tell you was we had people who were had foster homes, and you were put in one, you got sick, and they put you back in the hospital, and after you were well, they put you in another one and said, those people are all passed on now. Said it really wouldn't be worth anything to tell you about it. But said, however, the people over at the Vital Statistics said they have an elderly lady over there that's a genius with a computer. And said, when you get over there, said, tell them what your problem is, and she might can help. Since I didn't know, who I was. Well, I got over there, it was near noon, so they told me, said, come back after noon, and we'll have you something. And I had explained to the elderly lady that what my problem was otherwise, other than wanting a birth certificate. So I came back, and the old head man in there called me in, and he said, look, he said, we have found a 15-year-old girl who had a child. She wasn't married. And we're sure enough that you're it until we're going to give you that birth date. And he said, if we give you that birth date, He says, I'm going to write it up in the name of your adopted parents. He said, is there anything else you need? I said, yeah, I'd like to know the name of the little girl. And he said, we're not about to tell you that. There are too many hungry lawyers. Well, that was my start. Clifford and Belle Moss lived in Chatham, right across from the Baptist church where it is now, and where the Dumas's home was. It was first our home, and then it was there. Well, later on, Mother and I, Dad was in the turpentine business, stayed in camp a good deal down in Tibet area, and so Mother and I went to Mobile, and never forget living down there. We went out in West End, Cherokee Street, where they had no church out there, so Mother started the Sunday school and started West End Baptist Church. It's still there. Our favorite pastime was to go to Monroe Park, and this was, say, 2 or 3 miles, I guess, at most, maybe say 2 miles. And Mother and I would walk down there or catch a streetcar part ways, whichever came handier. And we'd stay there nearly all day, and then that night we'd watch a silent movie sitting on the ground out there. They had an outdoor movie screen, and they had a merry-go-round, and even a roller coaster, I think. And so I remember that. I had first entered school before we left Chatham at Chatham School. And I never forget, Daddy took me to school the first day. He was going down to Howardtown where the still was, and that's a turpentine still. And he dropped me off. He took me on the horse with him, and he dropped me off at school. And my teacher was Miss Elder Underduck. That's Mike Underduck's grandmother. And I have something later on about her that came up. Things happen, you know, you never forget people. But anyhow, after Mother and I lived in Mobile for a couple of years, Dad decided that he was going to retire so we could all kind of get closer together. So he retired from the turpentine business, where he had his turpentine still out east of Tibet. And he came to what then is, come on in and have a seat, folks. He came then up here where we are now as a minister from Escatawba. His heirs had some land here on Highway 45. And so Dad bought 120 acres down here, a mile south of Poe Point here. And we built and moved in the house in 1930. And that was more or less my introduction to this area. I knew something of Chatham before then, but not this area. So what Dad did was he built a home, and he started farming, and he was a turpentine man, not a farmer, but he was more or less an agriculturist. He spent his money on the farm, but he made it somewhere else. And so we stayed here. I went to Fruitdale School, 3rd grade, back and forth to different schools when there were only 3-month school. I once stayed in Chatham for a while in the dormitory at the old high school, and Mother and I stayed there in the dorm. Brother Mac Jones had just moved into town then, and I went to school over there to finish a year when we only had 3 months due to the Depression in the rest of the county. That Depression time was quite interesting to me because I was quite young, and I'll never forget one day Dad and I approached the courthouse, and Judge Frank Turner was sitting on the front. Dad spoke to him and said, "You look down in the mouth, Frank." He said, "I am, Clifford." "What's the matter?" He said, "Would you believe I've been in Hilton Blunt's office a while ago, and 2/3 of the land in Washington County is for sale for his taxes today?" And so things were kind of tough then. But carry forward here, I stayed here and went to Fruitdale School. When they had 3-month school, I attended Chatham one year, and then I drove back and forth at 8 years old to Citronelle every day. A pickup truck, a 30 model Model A Ford. And that was before they had highway patrolman or license, either one. So I didn't have any problem. Just stay on the road was the main problem. And you could bog down down just below Deer Park. And Highway 45 was still a dirt road at that time. And we're talking then, in 30, I'd say 3, 4, somewhere in there. All right, then from there, I went into, I went back to Fruitdale School and everything had settled down, doing quite well, staying at home. And we had a happening where we had an anonymous person to threaten my life if Dad didn't put $50,000 in the mailbox up here, in a cupboard up here at Mike Scumro's mailbox. So in that case, Daddy got his nephew, Jack Shell. They put me in the car and took me to Clinton, Mississippi at 11 years old. And I stayed in Clinton then up until I went into the National Guard in 1940 in the service. But after they found out who it was and the thing had been cleared up, I'd come back and visit the folks. I rode a motorcycle usually at 12, 14 years old. And so I'd visit with them at different times and they'd come visit with us. I lived with an uncle then, Uncle Simeon, mother's brother. And his wife was also a sister to Miss Virgin Platt up here, Miss Lane over here, and the Williams ladies over in the Williams community. They were causes from up at Healing Springs area. But anyhow, so along came World War II, and I was going to Mississippi College, and I made the football team that year anyhow. So they threw me out of there and told me to go on with the National Guard, so I did. And I went off for a year's training. Well, they sent us to Camp Blanding, Florida. I was a private first class with all the trimmings. We stayed at Camp Blanding for a little better than a year, then we went to Camp Wood, Texas. And in the meantime, I'd become a sergeant, and they sent us out on cadre, and I went with the 9th Division overseas to invade North Africa. We invaded North Africa. I was over there in November of '42, and we were there until the African campaign was over, and we went to Sicily and went through the Sicilian campaign. I was in the recons during this time, and kind of tired of getting shot at, so I applied for 7th Army Headquarters since I could type, and they needed typists real bad, so they took me. So I got out of the infantry. I was glad of that. But anyhow, as I told some of them, I didn't know of a weapon that the Germans possessed. They didn't shoot at me one time or another, but got kind of monotonous. Well, from that, went on through the service, 1st Armored Signal Battalion. Finished up in January of 1945. Sergeant found me in town, in a little town of Epinal, France, and told me, said, "Get back out to the outfit. You got orders to go home. You're being discharged." I couldn't believe it, you know. But the folks, since I was the only child and they were both right at 80 years old, well, they applied for a hardship discharge for me and they got me out. I didn't know anything about it until they got word. So I came home. Well, in August of that year, I came home and got a job with National Cash Register as office manager. And by August of that year, I married Esther Platt, who was W.H. Platt's daughter. And so from there, I decided I was going to go back to school. So I went back to Mississippi College, and I worked a while there, and we had a kind of a problem staying, but couldn't find a place to live, so I transferred to the University of Alabama, and I got a degree from Alabama in 1950. Came home, and I got a degree in psychology with a sociology minor, and there really wasn't a big demand for them in this part of the world. And I didn't want to leave home, so first took a little job on the farm training, teaching, and I taught for about a year, teaching fellow servicemen who was on a special program, and got to know several people. Well, at the end of that time, I went to work for Alabama Chemical, It's a very small outfit. Olin bought it out later. It was there on the yard. We made MCB, monochlorobenzene. They used it in making DDT. Well, at Calabama, I decided if you're going to work in a chemical plant, you ought to be a chemist. So I went back to Mississippi College and went to school again. Well, I finished Mississippi College in '59. I got a degree in Bachelor of Science. And went over to the University of Mississippi and went to med school for a year. I decided I didn't like the looks of that, so I stayed there and got a master's in biochem. Well, then I came back home and went to work for Geigy. Worked there about 6 years and became allergic to some of the products they made and had to leave, so I went into construction, had my own construction company, and followed it until I retired first time, about 10, 12 years ago, and maybe about 82, somewhere in that, 81. And I retired, and when I did, I went to teaching school, to vocational school, teaching building construction to start with, because that's what I had retired from. Stayed there a while and decided if I was going to teach school, I ought to be a teacher and I should get me a degree. So I went back and got a master's in business and educational administration from the university. So that ended up with 2 ABs, AB and a BS and an MA and an MS. So that's my education component. That ought to be enough, I don't know. But from that, I've been around and retired now after about 10 years at the vocational school. Enjoyed it. Remember, I met a lot of kids, and some of them were children of people I had worked with at Geigy and had been born and reared with. Enjoyed it a lot. Remember 4 Point Baptist Church. Just realized in the past 15 to 20 years how important it was to be a Christian and try to live in such a way that would help our young people in our nation. And that's about the story on it. I'm waiting now to get everything where I can figure out what I can do next. So that's it.
What about your children? How many do you have?
I got 2 children. I have a girl and a boy. The girl is the older. Let's see, I don't even really know. She's about 40 years old. And the boy is about 36. And the boy has 2 little girls. One about 2 and a half, and the other one about a year old. And the girl has 2 children which have lived with us since they were, they were 5 and 7. They came to live with us. They're now 13 and 15. The older one's in the math science school. They're both in the gifted program for the county. They've both been straight A students. It's kind of a scary thing to a man that never had to deal with that type of people. But hoping we can make good citizens out of them and contribute something to the old Washington County.
What's your daughter's name?
Sejenan. Sedjenane. Sejenan L. And she's a Sims now. Laurie was a mid-name. She's married to a Sims. Her children are named Harden. It's Brooke and Janan Harden. Trippy, he married a Sutherland girl from Mobile, and they live now down at across the bay. And that's about the story of them. And they're all doing well. I'm proud of my family. They've all been good people. And I've never been regretted what I've done for them. And I'm trying to be a worthwhile parent.
Well, you got an honor last year from Mississippi College, didn't you?
Yeah. They gave me, I was there, first thing they did was they gave me a 50-year diploma, because it's been 50 years since I would have graduated. I did not graduate 50 years ago because I was in the service, but if you were in the class that would have graduated, they gave you a 50-year diploma. And on top of that, I had mentioned the fact that I had made the football team, and since I only weighed about 140 pounds, everybody kind of laughed at me and said he'd never do it, you know. Even my boy kind of joked me about it. And I said, well, I'll show you. So I told the old coach up there, by the way, his name was Black, and he said, well, let me look up the record. And he went off and he come back after a while and said, yeah. I said, you made team. I said, yeah, I know I did. But anyhow, he said, well, we'll give you a certificate. So he happened to have 4 or 5 certificates were signed by old Coach Robbie and Coach Landrum, who were the coaches when I was there. So he drug out one of those and put my name on it and had it mounted and laminated and mailed it to me. So I have both a record of the fact I went to school there, plus the fact that I played football. And I think that's enough about me. Let's hear from some of these people who've done more.
Well, just one more, what about some changes in this area since that you can remember? What's the most significant?
Well, as I said, when we came here, Highway 45 was dirt. All the roads here, no blacktop and no pavement. This church wasn't here. Mother later on started having Sunday school in a little store building down here, and that was the start of this church. But we had behind us a church over there was called Bethlehem. I think the original name of it was Morning Star, and it too was a little school prior to the time that we came back here. I'd say it was a school, let's say 26, 8, somewhere in there. And that was there. The Stallworth had not come to this country. Dad introduced them to this country, and they came in because Dad and Mr. Stallworth, the old granddaddy Stallworth, were partners one time in turpentine business. And the R.C. Abrams owned all this that Stallworth owns now. And they were having financial problems, and that's when Stallworth got into the picture. They had gotten the land from the Turners, the old Minute Lumber Company empire. And so there's practically nothing here but just woods. And Escatawba, though, had 3 stores at that time. And now they don't have a store. But Oak Point, later on, Escatawba lost 1 store. And then when another few years it lost a 2nd store, but it opened up in 4 Points. Mr. Tom Davison had come over here from Tibby, and he had a little turpentine still here, so he opened a store on the southwest corner of the 4 Point Royal Crossing up here. And right across the street in front of the old Brewer home site was Harry Hogerson came from Escatawba over here and opened the store. And so we had 2 stores in 4 Point, and we had the church starting. And things looked like they were going to go pretty good there for a while. Several new houses built around. Escatawba had gone from 3 stores down to the 1 where the post office was, and it stayed open for a good long time, finally closed. About the only thing that people could do here was either logging or turpentine. And turpentine, it's amusing at times for people to tell you that all these chemical plants are something new to Washington County, but we had chemical plants before they heard of them in most of the country, because that's what a turpentine distillery is. We took the raw crude and through a process of distillation made turpentine, which we call spirits of turpentine, and they made rosin. Rosin was used in the manufacture of plastics and soaps and celluloid and this sort of thing, and the turpentine was used in the mixing of paints and this sort of thing. And literally, we had a school bus. Never will forget, didn't have brakes. One of the first ones I had. And we rode the bus every day. Mr. Vander Dees drove it. And so to stop, he'd always put it in reverse, you know, and stop when he had to stop. His brakes didn't work. So he was on his way to Fruitdale one morning. There's a steep hill up there just before we get to Miss Runyon's home. And just before we got to the top, the old engine went dead. Well, he did what he always did. He put it in reverse to stop it. But he was going backwards, so it cranked up and run backwards down the hill. Well, we turned over, and nobody was hurt. There was a little girl in there that wet a bunch of us, but other than that, we were in pretty good shape. So, literally, that was one of my school experiences. I'll never forget those buses. We had wooden seats running lengthwise, and one in the middle, it was a bench, and a bench on either side. and we had roll-up canvas sides, and in rainy weather they let them down. If you sit too close to the end of it, it'd flap a little, you know, and you'd get wet. But we made it to school on them. And at the time, we didn't have a mail carrier that came up the highway. The mail carrier, Mr. Moody, Mr. Rob Moody, was down in the southwest part below, around towards Burbank and down in that area, but he didn't come in here. We had to go to Escatawba to get our mail. The same thing was true with my wife's family, the Platts, and they all went to Escatawba to get their mail. And very few cars around. Dad spent a good bit of time hauling people to the doctor, or he had a truck and he'd haul the hogs and things to market for them. And I've been to church when we'd have horses and wagons. I never forget, we had this one family had about 12 children. And we was in the same little church we were talking about over here, the Bethlehem, back of the house on the other road over there. They put the children to sleep on the back bench, you know, during late service. They'd been there all day. And so they loaded everybody up and headed home. And just as they got home, and when they unloaded, it was a short one. So they take the mule wagon to come all the way back. It was like 2 miles back to the church, and he's still asleep. Never wake. He never waked while they were looking for him. So they picked him up and took him home. I like to say this, and I think I'm one of the few people my age that could drive a Model T Ford or drive a ox team either. When I was a kid, I used to buy calves, and I had some little yokes, and I'd train them, and I'd get them up fairly large. I'd sell them to people. Bubba Shell used to come over here and work with me with them every once in a while. He liked it, and I did too. I really spent a wonderful life here. But to be honest about it, for a person starting out as I did, it has been a wonderful life, and God has blessed us.
Thank you.
To be more comfortable, you can sit down.
Now, my mother was a hoe-batter. She came down with the bunch that came to our homestead land when the railroad was going through. And she and my dad and Tom Powell and Ida and my uncle Bert and Aunt Hattie Jones all were married at Fruitdale on the same day. They had their, it was in the register when they came up and took a picture of them and had a triple wedding up there. Well, then my dad stayed down. She stayed with him. All the rest of the whole valley went back north. Uncle Bert and Aunt Hattie moved over to Mississippi. And then I got married when I got about 19. I was married. I married. And I had 2 children, my boy, and I have 1 daughter. She lives in West Virginia.
What was your original name?
There.
What was your first name?
Brown, she
Well,
said.
what's your name? Your maiden name.
My maiden name,
Your maiden name.
mine,
Yeah.
Ruby Brown. Drew Brown was my father, and I was the oldest daughter. I have 1 brother older than me. He's passed on. And there's not only 2 of us left in our family. And they're passing on fast. I've lost so many this year, it's just been pathetic. But I don't know of anything that I could tell you that would be interesting. When I was 16, I went back north and stayed with my grandmother for 2 years. And I came back, that's when I got married, when I came back. And then, we went back north again, lived up there for several years, and came back again to Mississippi. And then, let me see. Then I married a man up there in West Virginia, and I went to live in Pennsylvania. And then he came down south, and he died up here where we live now. And that's about all I can tell you. We had no children. We raised 1 son. an adopted child. We didn't adopt him, but we raised him from time he was 7 months old. His father got killed in the mines, and we took him and raised him up. He lives in Ohio.
Can you give us your age?
I can't think of anything else. But I'm soon to be 87 years old, and I spent my life all around everywhere. I've lived in about 9 different states.
Was Miss Molly wasn't your mother then, was
Yeah.
she? Miss Molly Brown, wasn't she Mr. Drew's?
Can't hear you. I'm deaf.
Yeah, that was her mother. Delbert and Clarence. My name is Bill Holvatter. I'm 67 years old. My mother just got through with the interview. I'm relatively a newcomer to the community. I married a girl from here, Clayton Davison's daughter, Von Seal. We have 2 children, have 4 grandchildren. I still live in the neighborhood. I'm a member of the 4 Point Church. And I think that just about covers everything for me.
What kind of work did you do?
Well, when I first came here, when I first got married, we moved to Mobile and I worked in the shipyard. When the shipyards closed up, for the last of the conversion works, I went to West Virginia and stayed 4.5 years coal mining. Then when I heard that Olin was building the plant, I told the wife, we're going home. I spent 30 years, 4 months, 1 week, and 1 day with the Olin Chemical Corporation. I've been retired 10 years, and it's been a wonderful 10 years. We've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Hi, I'm Judy Lynn Pittman. I'm 44 years old, and I've been in Escatawba as a resident for 2 years and 3 months. I moved here from Southern California after living there for 42 years. My mother is a long time, well, she was born in Escatawba, Alabama. She was born May 1st, 1921, and she was born to H.M. Platt, who was a longtime resident of Escatawba and a landowner in Escatawba, and Virgie Causey Platt. And I think W.C. Moss mentioned Virgie Causey Platt just a little bit ago. The Causeys were from Mississippi, I believe.
No, they're Healing Springs.
Okay, Healing Springs,
Before
okay.
he came here.
And I think my grandmother was one of many children, maybe 12 children. Anyway, H.M. and Virgie had 8 children, and my mother was the oldest of them. She and my father were married March 1st, 1945, and they met at Berkeley Field Air Base in Mobile, Alabama, about 4 years before that. And because he was going off to the war, they decided that they wouldn't marry until he came back, and he came back and I made a mistake. It was March 10th. He came back about March 1st, and they married March 10th at Escatawba Baptist Church. And I understand that there was standing room only at the wedding, and that people were looking in through the windows. The church still stands today. And I can't remember, there's a lady up at Fruitdale now who played at their wedding. W.C.
Ms.
maybe-
Utsi,
okay,
probably, Ms.
Ms.
Utsi.
Utsi, okay. And she played the piano, and she would probably be around 90
Yeah.
now. Okay. My parents went to California, where my father got out of the service, I believe, and then they came back to Escatawba a couple times when I was a little girl, and tried to make a living just a few steps from here, on the corner here in Escatawba, and they built a store. And my mother had gotten a beauty operator's license in California, and so she ran that part of the business and my father ran the store. And they said that they extended too much credit and could not collect their bills and they went under. So they went back to California, and that's where my father had his business, and my mother was a homemaker. They had 2 children, myself and my sister Catherine Pittman, who's a doctor and lives in Chatham at this time. We all moved here as a family just a little over 2 years ago because my parents sold their business. They wanted to come home. And I said, you're not getting away from me. I'm going to come too, because I had wanted to come to Alabama for many years. It just never was the right time. And I'm so happy to be here today. I have a son who, my mother graduated from the Fruitdale High School. And my son is going to graduate in a year from there. And I feel very proud to have my son graduate from where my mother graduated. So that'll be very exciting. I'm a member of 4 Points Baptist Church, and I'm a registered nurse in the area. And I love Alabama. Coming from Southern California, I learned to appreciate it over many years visiting my grandparents on the farm. And I'm just very thankful to be here. I'm going to live here and die here. I have no intentions of ever moving away. And the country is very beautiful. My grandfather Platt's land is it went through a couple hands after he died, but it's my father and mother were fortunate to be able to buy it, and that's where I built my home, and it's very sacred to me. And, so I thank you for this opportunity, and I hope that you get a lot of good history.
Yes.
I'm Mike Prine. I'm from Deer Park. I married Katie Jewel Robbins. Her daddy was a forester here in Washington County for a number of years, a ranger at least. And I've got 2 children, a boy and a girl. I got 4 grandchildren, 2 girls and 2 boys. And I'm the 5th one in the generation of the church down business in the Prine settlement. And I hated to get out of it, but it got to a point that I couldn't hire labor. So I had to change methods of work. But I'm still interested in it to the highest mark. And anybody that would like to go to Tifton, Georgia on the last Saturday in May, they find the original wood steel wells. They find it one time a year for people to see. But they expect you to buy the spares. And this day and time, turn time is $150 a bag for WW. But if you produce it in a bottle like this, it's $200. But there's more to this than just what you see. It's a lot more work to it. And in turpentine, there hadn't been any improvements in working conditions. It's hard work from day one till it's over with. And this tree here, we got set up here with a cup on it. And you put a streak on like this, and you let it heal for about 3 weeks. And then you go back and then you start putting a streak on it, and you use sulfuric acid, or you can use a sulfuric paste. And if you use a sulfuric paste, you put 1 streak on each 28 days, provided that you can get it built. That's the hard part. You can't, if you get labor, then you're fine. But I recommend that you use sulfuric acid, just a regular 50%. Then you put on 2 streaks per month, and then build. And that way it don't go up your face so quick. And back here, there is a clay cup. I don't know, Mr. Pearson might could tell us about what year they came out. What about Ms. Wilcox? What about Ms. Bell? I can remember when my granddaddy had them on trees in the fall of the year. As soon as they straightened, he'd take them in and go turn those cups upside down to keep them from freezing. And this cup here, I don't know today what year that was. I couldn't answer that question and be truthful about it. And all of you know, this is an aluminum cup here. If you keep that cup clean, you produce WW certain time all the year round. I got 4 samples of raw. I got a WW, WG, I got an M, and I got an N. Nancy Mary. And this is the spray bottle that you put the acid on with. And this is the hack ball. That way they didn't have to have no sleeping pills to go to sleep at night if they carried that around all day. I'm sure of that.
What did you do with that?
This hack ball?
Yeah.
That goes on the end of the stomach. This is a scrape iron. Some people call it a shove down, some call it scrape irons. That's what you get the last, the white stuff that you see on the faces of the trees.
If you show us how it's used.
Well, if you've got a low box, say from waist high, you shove it down this way. And if you've got high boxes, you reach up and pull it down into your box.
You scrape the tree with it.
Right, you scrape the face on it.
Did that fall into that little bucket?
You know, we used to get those apple boxes and then make the scrape box out of them. Get you scrape in what didn't fall in the cup. And that's about all that I can tell you about turpentine. You've got to try it to know what it's like.
Tell us again about the bottle.
The
How
bottle?
they- Yeah, if they do.
What you
use
do,
the bottle.
you tap the tree, just bore a hole. They got a little machine, it looks like a little power saw. And it's got a oil on it. And you tap the tree, and you set that bottle just in that position. And you twist the neck of this bottle up in the tree, where you first put your acid up in it. And just let that bottle hang. In about 4 weeks, 90% of it will be full. 14 pounds when it's full. But that's over $200 a barrel. But there's, like I said, there's a lot more to it.
How many of them would it take to do a barrel?
That, I can't tell you to be specific about it, but I imagine somewhere around 200 of these bottles to fill a 55-gallon drum. But before you can put this turpentine in a barrel, you had to put a plastic bag in it. It's like a garbage bag. And you lay a piece of plywood over the top, and it's got a bunch of holes in it. You stand the bottles up like this, and it drains right out in the barrel. Because you can't have no stain in this turpentine. And they have sent samples as far away as Germany. And they do not have a grade for it. You can take a sheet of it after it is.
When did they start that?
This has been going on about 2 years, this wheel thought.
2 years?
A fellow by the name of Alvin over in Georgia. Now, Coca-Cola bottling company in Georgia, Atlanta, is furnishing him the bottles. The experiment with this is your spray bottle. That's what you spray this street with. Spray it across.
But Mike,
Sprayed acid on it,
that make it run easier or what?
Yeah, you produce more turpentine and less trips. See, just like back when you were dead, the men went around every week chipping
But
trees.
didn't have that acid put on there then?
No, ma'am.
That, the beginning, they didn't.
This would come out somewhere around 56 or 57. The best of my understanding, that's when it come out.
And that keeps it from clogging up the pores where it runs.
Yeah, it's just something that's got a heat about it. I can tell you one thing, if you get it on you hunt the water quick.
Cause more rods, more turpentine.
It opens the hole with the vein.
Come down, on the cruise value of it,
No, just makes the crude run fast.
Right, it runs it out faster.
and does all that stuff that.
But you run up the face of the tree faster than you do back when y'all did it was working turpentine.
And you don't wind up with that thick accumulation of what you scrape it off there later on.
That's right.
Because it stays more of a liquid.
Right.
It does not turn white and all
Right.
that. I remember back when they came out with that acid first time, and people made them little things, like a little can with a hose on it, and they blew it good with an out.
And, but I can assure you that, they're coming up every year, they're trying to improve the turpentine industry. It's a dime. So you see what's happening in this area. There's nobody down there. No plants to take it. There's only one plant in the United States in operation now, and that's in Baxter,
Where
Georgia.
they getting crude from?
Man,
Where they getting the crude from?
over there, there's a tremendous amount in South Georgia and Florida down there. And they also, with this turpentine that they're coming up with this way, they experimented over in Athens, Georgia, University. They
Can
think
we
they might be
touch that?
found.
Can we touch that?
It's not a plain old bottle. It's a plain 2-liter bottle.
And they, in the medical association, they think they might be found something in turpentine will be a cure for cancer. It's not positive yet, but they,
Wouldn't that be remarkable
it
Raw
should.
crude.
for something that we had all the time, come up and find out it's worth something?
Scared a lot of colds and things.
Man,
He doesn't understand. It's talk to him so he understands.
What is in your crude?
that's raw turpentine, right out of the tree.
Philip Village holds the side of the tree.
Did it run in there on itself?
Runs on its own power.
Always went in and cooked.
Yeah, well, you see what they do, we roll a hole, just like this is a tree. See, you can put one bottle here, go over here,
Oh, you
go
wouldn't have that front face out if you did that.
No, ma'am.
Anytime.
You don't have that across the front.
And, just like this, you just tap a hole in the tree.
Oh, you don't use that cook?
No, no.
Ah.
And that way, there's no loss in timber. You see now, just like the sawmills, they buy timber. They're gonna take that junk load off. And that's your weight of your timber right there.
About 6 feet of it goes off.
Right. You lose about 6 foot of your, and,
Well, that was the late thing. wasn't it?
right. And this way, there's no loss in it. See, over in Georgia, you take as a union camp, they own thousands and thousands of acres of timber. And they let this man experiment on their timber with these bottles.
You don't have one over that bottle, you have something in with a little thing.
I haven't got one. I just got a bottle.
You got one. You got one.
I figured
You didn't know
he,
about that product today.
and I'm checking yet, trying to find you a grader.
That'd be one. You can see that again.
Well, Mike, in the last 2 or 3 years that you were in the truck business, did you rate your boxes and boom?
Did I do what?
Rate your boxes?
No, sir, no, sir. That's how the style is day and time. You just gamble, you know, if you don't have a woods fire. But that was the old way of doing it years ago.
Oh, yeah, they had to do it almost.
But you like Miss Bell's daddy and all of them, they rake these boxes.
And how did they used to do that before they even had the boxes? They cut further down in the tree, made a little cup down there for what?
That's what Mr. Pearson was talking about a while ago, the old chop box.
I thought you called it a cut box, you called it.
Well, I call it a chop box. It might be a cut box, I don't know. That was before my time.
You got one in the house? Have a stop with it.
I'm reading Penny one. She's got one. And,
Yeah, this story about put in the box, you know, you hack and take those streets, but you have a puller to make the streets when it gets up high.
Right, you got a puller that you reach your back. I didn't have one.
What a been how big truck gone orchard over home between James and Badger Creek. And Mr. Moses, that's insured in school that I taught this was in the late 20s. And Mr. Jack Turner and Mr. Moses were going to Badger Creek fishing. And they were going down through this Turpentine orchard. And Mr. Mosley saw one of his men who was pulling the boxes. It had a long handle on it,
Right.
and it had the blade like that on the end of it, so if you got out and away from where you could get them with a hat. And Mr. Moses had Mr. Turner stop so he could go there and show his man who was doing it wrong how to do it right. And Mr. Moses was Woods foreman for Hunter being over in that area, trouble trying to steal at St. Stephen's. He had his pistol here in his bed. And he went to show his workmen better how to pull that he wasn't doing it right. And as he came down the end of that pull, hit the hammer of his pistol, fired, and went right into this big artery and leg right there, and he was dead in a few minutes.
That's the way my granddaddy was. I just can't remember it. And one of the men come by and wanted to borrow $3 on the curtain time. And I had seen Papa pay Mr. Petrov for the stage, to make the barrels out of it. And I seen him put the money back. He probably had a roller one that big. He told me he just had to go home and fry an egg. He didn't have no money.
How long were you in the business?
1950, last year.
You make your own barrels?
No, ma'am, I didn't make
Did
it.
you ever make them?
Yeah, I paid a barrel, I tried it.
Percy Jordan is still living. I visited not long ago, and he'll be 95 the 15th of this month. And he made barrels for Daddy still. I can hear that little beat.
You hear that?
Man, I went to that brother.
We had a cousin told me, man, he could take that thing and walk around the barrel, put that hook on
And
it.
that's Percy.
He just made it to me.
Where did you get your barrels?
Well, when we had the turpentine still, the old wood still, we got the barrels from Dr. Petcher's daddy. Wasn't that Dr. Petcher's daddy?
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong? I believe I'm right.
How many barrels would you carry to Georgia when you carried them over to deliver?
80,
80 at a time.
did 80 barrels on.
How long would it take you to fill up that many?
About 4 weeks.
You said they have a sale over there, run once a year? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, no, I carried my raw turpentine,
I know, I'm
here.
talking about, you said what?
Yeah.
Georgia.
Be the last Saturday in May.
Well, how long has Taylor Lowenstein been out of business of distilling?
20-something.
I forgot, but
You see, that's what killed us. You see, when Starless Naval Stores went out of business. Well, Taylor Lowenstein naturally didn't have no competition, but they just kept lowering the price. So it just put people out of business, And then when I picked it back up, I had got in contact with Union Camp in Valdosta, Georgia, and they was paying $70 then for turpentine, and Taylor Lowenstein wasn't paying but $21 for it. Well, when a man can't make a living, he's got to move on.
Turpentine industry is the only big industry that I know of that's completely, practically gone.
It's gone.
They just don't, so now, they, in the daily paper, he quoted turpentine, laws on Sonoma,
That's right, every day.
They do ripening corn and wheat, now that was a big business.
See, we had this American Turpentine Association, and see, his went under. It's just not enough members now to keep them in
Used to
operation.
be a big one like that, plateau, what was that?
That was Starless Naval Store there. And then you had, Robinson was also out there in Plateau. He's the one that pulled the rug out from my granddaddy and Bookshot Turner out there that time. Well, they put a lot of money in that steel, and they put his name, he's gone.
When I was a boy, I used to wonder why they called it naval stores. They didn't call it turpentine rolling like that.
Well, I don't know yet why they call it naval stores. I've never heard anybody
They
define it.
did because you got a lot of coffee seams in these sailors. That's what you.
And the next thing that hurt us in this area is the paper mills. See, they've started producing the rosin. They got hot rosin. If you will notice, you'll see McKinsey trucks. They on the road every day. And that's what they're hauling most times, is hot rosin. And they haul it to Georgia, different places.
Well, about the stump, you get all the stumps, is all the stumps gone, and that's
There's
So
a
a
few
load
going
of
out
that's
there.
all load here inside of it,
That brown boy, you
They
know,
still hauling
he's
something, well, they take it to Georgia too, I
Yes.
know.
he takes them still further than I go.
They still have a place where they would get the rosin.
Right. You got a Hercules plant over there.
used to be one in
Hattiesburg.
Hattiesburg, it's been closed several years.
See, I tried to get them to take turpentine. See, they use a lot of rock. They talking about it's gonna cost them $1 million, you know, to make a conversion, man, if we can get enough turpentine to handle $1 million conversion. So that eliminated that.
The one thing I always wondered how you can go through the woods and not miss trees, doing that dipping and chipping.
Well, if you'll notice,
If you have a pattern.
if you notice, this, like this tree right here, when you put that sulfuric acid on it, if you'll notice in about 3 minutes, it'll turn that streak purple.
But I mean, how do you do without missing a tree? Do you have
Well,
some sort of
what I'm
pattern?
talking about, when you were walking, when you chip this tree and you walk over here to get this, and you can look back and you can see this one has already been chipped. You'll see it's turning purple. And then you go on to the next.
Well, how
You
many-
might miss some occasionally, you know,
But
but,
how many trees would you have to, one person have to work?
well, you might know him, Nathaniel Franks, he's dead now, lives here in Chatham. He's running about a 40 barrel stand for me.
That would be, what, about how many acres?
It was over about 240 acres.
But that's what I'm saying, I don't know how you didn't miss trees doing all of that.
I guess it's just like going to school to teaching.
You just get your pattern.
It just gets natural with you.
Was there any difference in the amount and quality of turpentine from different types of pine trees? Could you tell
Well,
me?
this is what we call a slash pine, that's spruce. And then you've got a hill tree, just like up here by Miss Wilcox's house, that's all hill timber. That turpentine, in most cases, it runs better than this tree does. But it'll be kind of lumpy, it don't have the weight that a slash does. That slash is more like this bottom here, I mean, it's more liquefied. And a hill pine it's lumpy and it don't weigh quite as much, but it makes pretty turpentine.
How long would it take?
Hang many cups on the pine tree that they both did. Just see on you going down there, I'd see them hung all the way around.
Oh yeah, if you handle a tree right, and you know, and not just run it to death, you can, a tree like this, you get 2 faces on it, and that'll be, you're looking at about 18 years period of time. If you've got 14, 18-inch trees, you get 3 cups. I have seen some that you'll manage to get 4 cups on. But not everyone's like that.
I know, bring it to the still, and I forgot, how long did it take to go from the crude to the rosin and the turpentine? So you can drain it out and you put it.
Don't you remember how they did it?
Oh,
Well-
they keep looking, taking samples to see, I guess, how far the water was,
Yeah.
how the turpentine was, but.
Well, you see, this day and time, these modern steel that they got now, they got an indicator there. It's got a red ink going across here.
But approximately how long did it take?
It'd take almost all day to
About-
run one,
With under steam pressure, about an hour and 20 minutes.
but I mean, just an old steel,
Yeah,
I used
old
to
steel.
be all day long.
It's all day long. I mean, if you get 2 charges off or 3 with the old wood steel like
Like we
you
had.
used to have years ago,
You can put it-
you had to hustle to get 3 charges off it a day.
How far did y'all ever carry the process? Any further than just the raw material? Did you ever cook it down and go all the way with it?
What we did years ago when we had the old steel, we brought it right in out of the woods and processed it right there, and you had your raw and spirits.
I just said Gene's granddaddy, and your daddy, my daddy, we all had stills.
Well, at one time, I remember when we had that in Burbank, and that old railroad run from Vinegar Bend to Leesburg. Daddy and Papa, they had one of these old hand guns, I don't know what they call them, a ram, I believe. And they'd come up attack for all those spirits on Sunday, they had it ready for Sunday evening, that train would come out.
Well, there were three that I remember, right here. Uncle Jesse had one, Mr. Dickey had one, and then I don't remember the one of your daddy's up there, but I knew he had one. I forgot it was up there. Then it was, yeah, there was four. There were, yeah.
And we did have some pictures, you know, those still, you know, Foster Taylor, he had one, Daddy Papa had one.
Mr. Jack Ferguson worked at one right in front of being in drugs, right across 17 down house in the store. Was one night.
But I can remember this still down here with the railroad track down there.
It's Dr. T.
So there was one where B&F drugs.
That's where our house was.
Oh.
But just across the road, right in front of it, there was a turpentine still.
Where the Chevrolet place?
Mr. John D. had one right by the library there.
Yeah.
For the old,
And Uncle Jesse's was about where that trailer beauty shop is, in that little trailer up there by Ward's. And Daddy
Yeah.
them did have
Mr.
a
Henson,
turpentine
man, they
still.
had a pretty good size steel too.
And didn't Mr. Kirkland have one at one time?
Yes, that was originally Papa's, I think. At one time, we had one at McIntosh and one at Hawthorne and one at Tibby. And of course, Kirkland, Uncle Wilkes continued running that one long after we stopped running the one at Hawthorne and McIntosh.
And Daddy's, Mr. Hurst, was down behind the school, in front of what is now Dr. Donald's house. It's right behind the Odd's house.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't remember the years.
And that was Dr. Kirkland
Mr. Hurst.
Hurst. Okay.
Mr. Grady
Oh, yeah,
Hurst.
your daddy, uh-huh.
But the other parts, I wouldn't get rid of it,
No,
'cause that's all I got left that I
Well, one of the
can remember.
things that I remember that is not really concerning the turpentine, but that happened to me when I went off to Huntington College. I was mentioned something about my family still, and some of these girls from the city immediately thought I was talking about whiskey stills. They never heard, they'd heard of whiskey stills, but they never heard of turpentine stills.
What did, when you went into the business, what would you hire a person per day for?
We didn't work it that way, we worked it on halves, 50-50 basis.
Of what?
He didn't make nothing.
Of the
we didn't
barrels?
make it. That's the best that we could do on that.
How many people did you work during your,
Well, during my time, I didn't have about 3 or 4.
and you are the last one in the state of Alabama to produce turpentine? Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Appreciate y'all coming back.